Thank you for coming to my presentation today. I hope that you're enjoying the Week of Kindness Summit, and I am so thrilled to be a part of it. My title talk is Show Up as a Leader, Make an Impact. There's several different aspects to this, and I'll walk you through them. First thing, I want you to think of showing up as a leader in every one-on-one interaction that you have. We often think that we just show up with a leadership perspective, with a leadership mindset when we're talking to a group. Maybe it's a team, maybe it's a meeting with people we never met before, but that's when we think we need to show up as a leader. Change your mindset. Show up as a leader in every interaction with every person every day. The second thing that I will do today is to talk about PAAR. Now, that's not a golf term. It's going to be 3 aspects of how you go about achieving your impact to get the results you want. So PAAR is purpose plus alignment plus action equals results. If you think about that on a repetitive basis, those purposes can change from time to time. The alignment to that purpose can change from time to time, and the action you take can change from time to time. Now, each of us have in the back of our mind that there's a purpose in our life that we want to achieve. We want to make an impact. We want to make a difference, but it seems overwhelming. And sometimes we put so much on our plate to get there that we feel overwhelmed. If we think of PAAR, we will be able to control that feeling of overwhelm. We will show up as a leader in every interaction with every person every day, and we will make a step each time incrementally toward that impact that we want to achieve. Are there times that you feel burned out? Are there times that you feel exhausted? I certainly do, and I certainly have, but I've improved greatly because I think PAAR. So let's think about that big vision. What is your big vision? Mine is to help innovators make the impact they want. Now, I didn't start out that way. Sometimes we go through different seasons in life, and those seasons will affect the vision that we have for that particular time in life. Sometimes we can break that down each time into an individual goal, a stepping stone, a purpose that will take us a little bit closer every time. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't or shouldn't explore the edges of the envelope, but what we should do is to be purposeful in the moment we're at. But the most important thing is embrace these 3 principles, and they're going to be iterative. You've all heard the term rinse and repeat. That's what this is all about. To tell you a little bit about myself, I grew up in Wisconsin, was in a farming community, and I grew up on a farm. It was a dairy farm. If you know anything about dairy farms, this is where your milk comes from. And these cows have to be milked twice a day, and they tie you down. The oldest son was expected to take over the farm from dad as he grew older. Guess what? I was the oldest of 7 children. But for me, the farming life was not my purpose in life. It was not my vision. And you're going to laugh, but I really wanted to be an astronaut, in all honesty. I was restless as a kid. I liked athletics. I liked reading. I liked playing. I didn't like being tied down to a farm. I'm fine with hard work. What I wasn't fine with was being tied down to a schedule that didn't give me the freedom to pursue my interests. I ultimately became the first person in my family, actually in my family of extended cousins, to attend college. And that all started with the interest in aerospace. But as I got old enough for college, the aerospace industry was winding down. So that really wasn't a high probability or possibility. So I did pursue engineering. I pursued mechanical engineering because it gave me the most latitude, but I didn't know what my vision was. And it took me a little while to get there. All I knew was that I didn't want to be in farming. And so I was really walking away from something as opposed to walking towards something. But if you stay persistent enough, that vision will appear. And for me, I developed an interest in automotive engines. Now, why, I don't know, but part of it is that I hung around people who were interested in engines. And you're going to be interested in the same things as the people that you hang around with. In fact, with this group of people, we built a race car together from the ground up, if you can imagine that. Now, this wasn't like an Indy car that you see running 200 miles an hour. It was a Gymkhana car, and we raced it in large parking lots on Saturdays. And it became part of our weekly ritual during the summer. As for a profession, I created a thesis on hybrid vehicles and how to best optimize the performance, reduce the emissions, reduce the fuel consumption in hybrid powertrains. Now, this wasn't something new, but nobody had really studied it deeply before. So myself and my colleagues, we were among the first. My goal, my purpose at the time was less about creating something unique for the automotive industry. It was really more about getting my master's degree and getting a stipend as a research assistant and building my credentials for a job. Now, going back as to what ultimately fueled an interest beyond getting that master's degree is what I experienced when I was 12 years old. I thought back to a trip that we took from Wisconsin, from that farm in Wisconsin with a rare vacation, to Colorado. And we wanted to visit Colorado because my uncle had served in the Army there and talked about how beautiful it was. And my parents thought, hey, it'll be great to take the kids there. But one of the things that stuck in my mind, and I can still see it today, as we approached Chicago, I could see a dome of a brown cloud in the distance. And it got closer and closer as we approached Chicago. And pretty soon we were inside this brown cloud. And after a while, we drove out of it and we were back in the clear air. And then we saw a brown cloud again as we approached St. Louis. And this brown cloud was pollution. It looked like a dome from the distance, and people were living in it. They were breathing it 24/7. We were only in it for part of the day, but I thought, wow, we can't really imagine what it would be like living in that day in and day out. Several years later, in my first job after college, I had the opportunity to drive Interstate 5 from Los Angeles to Paso Robles, California, which was located in the Central Valley. And I drove up Interstate 5, and what I did not know at the time was that there were mountains on both sides of me. I could not see the mountains from the cloud, from the road to less than a half mile inland where the mountains were located. Today, when I drive that same route and I can so clearly see those mountains, I fully appreciate what the industry had done to make the air clean to breathe. So I did develop a vision of creating a cleaner air for our cities and for us to breathe when we visited those cities. So along the way, I was making progress toward that vision of clean air and did a lot to accomplish things. And so the question that I have for you right now is, are you satisfied with the progress you're making? Are you satisfied with getting the cooperation and support that you need to achieve your goals? That's one of the things that often frustrated me. I didn't feel that I was getting the cooperation and support that I needed quite often. And in hindsight, I realized that the reason is that I saw two ways of doing things. One was my way, and one was the wrong way. So what I really needed to do, and that I've learned over time, is how to acquire the influence necessary to get the cooperation and support along the way. So what I really needed to do is to engage in a conversation as a leader. Leaders don't just bark orders. Maybe back in the day when I was younger they did, but leaders today have learned how to influence. And they do that by clarifying a purpose that people can identify with. They do that by aligning that purpose as they explain it with the same interest of the person that they're speaking with or the group that they're speaking with. And they encourage people to take action, and they take action themselves to achieving what that purpose is intended and getting the results that they want. And every time they go through that cycle of purpose, alignment, action, and getting the results, they move closer to the overall vision, whatever that vision is. And I encourage you to do the same. And doing that, each incremental step is going to feel like a victory. Isn't that cool? Because if we're working just toward a big grand vision and we can't see the progress we're making, we're going to get frustrated, we're going to get exhausted, we're going to burn out. I took an early retirement in 2009, which was 13 years ago. And the reason was because I was doing a lot of travel overseas, and about 50% of the time, and when I was home, I was traveling 50% of the time, and the 25% of total time that I was actually commuting to the office, I had over an hour commute each way. So that in itself was burning me out, but I was really working too hard as well, in that I hadn't fully learned and embraced this repetitive cycle of purpose, alignment, action, results before moving on to the next thing. I tried to accomplish everything at one time. Do you ever find yourself doing that? Now, when I took that early retirement, I thought, wow, being an entrepreneur would be great. You know, I can set my own hours. I can do what I want to do. But one of the hard lessons there is that as an entrepreneur, I no longer had the same resources that I did in the corporate world with the financial people and the marketing people and the engineering teams. Again, it was hard work to get everybody aligned there, but it's even harder work when you don't have those people and you're a sole worker doing all your own stuff. Now, let me talk about PAAR, which I brought up early in the presentation. And it's something I had learned from one of my managers, and I didn't fully embrace it at the time because I didn't understand it. Remember, I thought there were two ways to do things. One was my way and one was the wrong way. So and there's an adage that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, in my entrepreneurial life, the student became ready, and I cannot believe the library of knowledge I had acquired over my corporate career that I'm just anxious to offer to people. So let's talk about PAAR for a moment. I'll start out with an example. I'll start out with this manager's story. So he led this team of 7 people that I talked about earlier, developing the electronic controls, the computer controls for cars. This was back in the 70s. And what we were given as a mission was to pretend that all the mechanical claptrap that ran the engine before never existed. That we were given an engine and a computer, and we had to figure out how to make that computer control the engine, because it could do it could do it more repeatable than the claptrap that was controlling the engines back then. So I was one of the 7. This manager's name was Laszlo, and he was a Hungarian refugee. He had a small rusted compass sitting on the corner of his desk. And on our first meeting, he picked up that compass and he told us his story of escape. It was an escape in which he had a purpose, he had alignment, he took action, and he got the results that he was looking for. His wife was 7 months pregnant, and the Russians had taken over Hungary, and he knew that he could not live under that system. So in the dark of night, it was rainy, there was no moon, it was dark as could possibly be. He got help getting to the border between Hungary and Austria, and went through a woods to get into Austria. But Russian soldiers knew that this was an escape route for many Hungarian refugees, so they were patrolling that woods. And he had this compass with him. He had his 7-month pregnant wife, and he had a set of matches. He would stop every 10 to 15 minutes, dig a hole next to a tree, light the match below that hole in the rain, so it often required more than one try. But he needed enough light to look at that compass and make sure that he was aligned in the proper direction, that he was aligned to get to the safe house in Austria that he was headed for, that he was aligned with not ending up circling back into Hungary. Because if they got captured by the Russian soldiers, they would be tortured and executed. It was a big risk, but they took action anyway. They were seeking their freedom, and they ultimately got to that safe house. They got the results they wanted, and even the bigger vision that he wanted, which was to ultimately work for an auto company in the United States. They ended up going to England, to Canada, before they got to the United States. And so each of those steps required their own purpose, their own alignment, their own action, and their own set of results to get one step closer to the vision of working for an auto company in the United States. And I had the pleasure of working for this gentleman. So hopefully that story helps you understand the importance of PAAR, P-A-A-R. Thinking PAAR will increase your effectiveness. Thinking PAAR will elevate your influence. Thinking PAAR will lead to and strengthen beneficial relationships. In summary, thinking PAAR will change your life. Well, how does this relate to showing up as a leader? Well, showing up as a leader, you're doing so to have some influence. Your purpose can change. The person you're talking to can change. It could be a customer. It could be a vendor. It could be an investor. It could be someone in the community from whom you're seeking help. It could be a team once you have grown your business enough to bring people into your employee team. So again, each of these is going to involve a different purpose. Each step is going to involve a different purpose. And to have influence, you don't have to have a title, but you do have to have a purpose. Alignment comes in by number one, aligning your purpose to the direction that you are explaining, and aligning your values with the values of the people that you're talking with. If you're talking with people who don't share the same values, you probably just need to move on and find somebody else who does share the values, because it won't be fun for them. It won't be fun for you. That comes when you're hiring people. It comes when you're trying to find partners to work with along the way. So what is leadership? Leadership is the art of motivating people toward achieving a common goal. And that's the reason for the importance of alignment. Finding people who want to achieve a common goal. Now, it doesn't have to be the same identical goal, the same identical vision as what you're looking for, but it's somebody who wants to make a difference and they're supportive of the difference that you want to make. So sometimes they're support, sometimes they're partners in action, and sometimes they are the people who will carry the ball and get the results you want. So you want to know who it is that you're working with. When you are defining your purpose, golf does become a pretty good analogy. Any of you who are golfers know that you don't always aim directly at the hole. If you're on a dogleg hole, you have to hit maybe to the left before you hit to the right toward the hole, because you don't have the distance to carry the water or carry over a woods. You have to be strategic. It's called course management. In our case, we'll call it purpose management. Sometimes setting up that purpose is nothing more than creating a meeting for a coffee chat to just sort of kick things around and find out if the person that you're talking with is aligned with the goal that you want to achieve. Again, don't hide your purpose. Don't have a hidden agenda. Be intentional and clear about what it is that you want out of that meeting, and see if they're aligned and whether they want to go along with you. Once you've got the alignment clear along with the purpose, have courage, take action. Don't let the other things be an excuse for inaction, because the only way to not get results is to do nothing. And we don't want to do that. Action is important. Let me sum up. When you exemplify purpose, when you have clear direction and align that direction with your purpose, and you find people who are aligned with your values toward the common type of goal that you're after, and you take action toward it, you define it and take action toward it, you're going to get the results you want. You're going to make an impact. Each purpose completed is perhaps a mini impact. That vision out there is the major impact that you want to make. And it's a journey more than a destination. And if you keep that in mind, you're going to enjoy the journey. If you think you're after a destination, you're more likely to get frustrated, exhausted, and feel burned out. I promised a gift. And one of the things that I learned over time is that leadership is a learned skill. Influence is a learned skill. The more you work on it, the bigger your repertoire of skills, the more refined your skills become. And even being a good leader is a journey and not a destination. The best leaders are always learning. I heard Simon Sinek one time, who is a great thought leader, say that he keeps reading, he keeps asking questions. Why? Because he's getting better. With this gift, you'll have the opportunity to reflect on your own strengths, to imagine the kind of leader that you want to be, and to practice key methods of thinking and acting that help you emerge as the leader you envision. So go to www.leadership.peakbizperformance.com and get your free leadership guide, which will also be that roadmap to helping you become a better leader. You can also click on that link in your portal to the Week of Kindness. And I want to thank Tony Kaufman so much for inviting me to be part of this Week of Kindness. It is such a thrill. I also have an offer for a free 3-hour masterclass. This masterclass will be Purpose Mastery. And in it, you will learn 5 steps for making progress toward your vision. And to sign up for that, go to purposemastery.peakbizperformance.com. And it'll give you the schedule on that page as to when this 3-hour masterclass will take place. It's entirely free, and it is entirely worth your time. And then there's one last gift. And for those of you who comment on my presentation, I will give you a copy of my book titled How to Transform Fear into Courage. This will help you when it comes time to act, because when it does come time to act, we often are fearful of that. And it won't help you uncover fears. It's going to actually teach you to acknowledge the fear and learn how to set that fear to the side so you have a clear path forward. It's definitely worth the time to read it and take it in. So I look forward to seeing you in the Purpose Mastery class, and I thank you for attending. I hope this was worthwhile for you, and I really look forward to seeing each and every one of you again, either in that class or in another summit or event. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your Week of Kindness.